Story 1. Hello everyone. I, 45 male, was diagnosed with diabetes 10 years ago, and I'm currently down with a stroke. As I write, I don't have much time left to live. So, I would be glad if you could help me figure out whether I'm wrong in this situation before it's too late. Frimet, 43 female, now my ex-wife, and I got married 17 years ago when things were going well in my life. I had a job that paid well, so I gave her the best of everything she desired. 2 years later, we had our son Ken, who is now 15 years old. Our joy knew no bounds. But 5 years after Ken was born, my life flipped upside down. I got diagnosed with diabetes, and to make matters worse, I had a stroke shortly after. While at the hospital, can you imagine that Frimet abandoned me? She sent me a message telling me how she didn't want to spend the rest of her life with someone bedridden and could not work to provide her with the finer things she desired in life. As for our son, she sent him to school that day and didn't bother about picking him up again. The school called me asking when I would pick him up before I became aware that she left him behind as well. Down with a stroke, my life was already a whole mess, not to mention how she expected me to care for our son. While I was admitted to the hospital, I later learned that she had a contract marriage to become a legal US citizen. So that is how Frimet and I ended things. Now to talk of the real situation at hand. Vida, 40 female, my new wife, is the one who came to fill the gap she left behind in our lives. She had been a good wife to me and an awesome mother to Ken. She is simply the best stepmom anyone could ever have for their kid. But about 6 months ago, I noticed a change in Ken's behavior towards myself and Vida. I didn't like that at all. He had suddenly changed from the sweet Ken I know to become rude. So I tried to address the issue, but I was devastated by his outburst. He lashed out at me saying that I chased his mom out and went in for another woman to replace her. He made me feel like the bad guy instead of his mom, who cruelly abandoned both of us. When I pestered him a little further, I was more surprised. Turns out, Frimet had somehow made contact with Ken on the sly behind me. So she played the victim and made me sound like the bad guy. Things escalated till she achieved her aim of being reintroduced into our lives skillfully using Ken as her pawn. Now she comes over at times to see Ken and all that. Now here is the deal. All these years I tried everything possible, but then my situation just kept on worsening. The doctors informed me last week that I had very little time left. It broke my heart. So, I started making some preparations before it was too late. I made a will to transfer all my properties to my son Ken and wife Vida. Yesterday, Frimet came over under the pretext of visiting Ken and wishing me a speedy recovery. She then casually asked me if I included her in my will. I told her no, and this was the beginning of all the chaos. She was very angry at me for not including her in my will. I told her it wasn't my duty to do so from the moment she chose to walk out on me. She must have thought of being written off my will as well. Frimet argued that if anything at all, she must share my properties with our son so she can legally take him back after my death. I was even surprised that she had the nerve to strike such a deal with me. How can I be okay entrusting my son into the hands of someone who abandoned us and is now back into our lives just because of my will? She kept on dragging the issue with me that I had to call the security over to drag her out of the house. I know we must forgive people if they wrong us, but I don't think this is something she can or would ever be able to make amendments to. And most importantly, I don't want to jeopardize my son's future with a woman as mean as Frimet. She called me several times today, but I refused to answer. However, I can't help but wonder if I'm heartless for eliminating her from my will. I promise to keep you guys updated if I still have the breath of life in me by then. Update. Thanks for all the well wishes, love and support you guys have shown me. Here is some update on my issue just like I promised. Frimet came over to my house yesterday, still demanding that I include her in my will. We argued again over the whole thing. We were still arguing and did not notice when Ken returned home. He heard every single word of what we said. Frimet tried to play the victim again, but it was too late. Ken told her that he doesn't have or want a mom like her, so she should stay away from him as much as possible. He was very disappointed at the discovery of how the woman he called mom abandoned him. Frimit broke down in tears, begging that I help her because her contract husband had abandoned her and their 2 kids and she had no means of taking care of them. I told her it's karma catching up with her, so she should enjoy it alone. I had long forgiven her, but the damage she caused isn't something she could easily make amendments for. She left and I haven't heard from her since. Ken apologized to Vida and me, and now things between us are back to normal. Although my time here is limited, I believe that I can now die in peace. But should there be a next life, I pray for good health. But never should I meet Frimit again. Thanks for your support once more. I enjoyed the attention you all gave my post, and I loved reading all your comments. OP, I'm so glad you guys were finally able to resolve this issue and that Ken apologized to his stepmom and you. Frimit sounds like a manipulative gold digger who doesn't mind manipulating her child to get what she wants. She doesn't deserve to be part of your will because when life got hard, she ran instead of staying for you and being there for you. So, will everything to your real families, OP. It's your money after all. Hopefully when you're gone, they're able to spend the money wisely. Story 2. Not sure if it matters, but I, 45 female, am married to my husband Henry, 45 male, and we have multiple children together. Oldest being my twins, Christian 17 male and Elizabeth 17 female. Liz was going to turn 15 come January of 2019, and as we are Hispanic, it was tradition to hold a Quinceanera for a girl on her 15th birthday. Christian didn't even want to go, but I said that wasn't an option and it stopped there. Everything seemed to go smoothly until later on when it was time to escort her into the party. Chris did his part, but he was not enthusiastic at all. Near the end of the night, it was time for the dance with Liz and her brother. But he did not show up, even after the announcer repeated his name thrice. My daughter was left alone and she started crying and I was absolutely furious. I could not believe he would do this to her. I tried to call the cell, but he had blocked me everywhere. After getting home, the twins never spoke to each other again. Liz adjusted to this just fine. Chris, however, struggled with behavioral issues after that, and everyone else in the family distanced themselves from him aside from my brother. I'm not sure what happened, but after the school year came around, September 2021, he took a complete 180. He got a perfect score in a subject he never once liked or was able to comprehend the material of. His teachers thought he was cheating, honestly, and I confronted him about it. He seemed angry at the question but dismissed it and did not say a word to me. Anyway, last night I received an email about senior pictures yesterday and wanted the two to take pictures together, as this was such an important milestone, but Liz refused and called him a cheater. Chris retorted and called her jealous now that he was better than her at something and he wouldn't want to associate with a shitty family anyway, which made me snap at him. I told him that everyone has put up with his bullshit for so long and he only has himself to blame for no one wanting to interact with him in the family for doing such a horrible thing. And he called me an a-hole. Henry stepped in and we told him that if he felt this way and talked to us this way, he wouldn't be allowed in the house anymore. He ended up going to his room and calling his uncle about staying with him, and out of nowhere, my brother starts calling me the a-hole and claiming I have always had a clear bias, and it was my fault the twins ended up this way. But I firmly reminded him that Christian was the one who ruined his sister's party. I don't even have a bias for either of my children. To be honest, it's all getting to me at this point. I know it sounds fake. I really wish it was. I really need to know, how am I possibly the a-hole here? You're the a-hole, OP. The birthday was their birthday, not Liz's birthday, and the best you could do for your son was, I will get you a gift after. You didn't even pre-plan a gift or a celebration with his friends or the family. Plus, you expected him to be his sister's escort and dance with her without asking him. Then for 2 years, you allowed people to shun him and joined in on the shunning. What is wrong with you? Now you have kicked him out and hopefully he will be better off for it. He needs an actual parental figure in his life who can help him fix everything his biological parents have broken in him. If your brother is smart, he will file for custody of all of the kids, save Liz. And then you can spoil and coddle her while the rest have a chance. Now for some comments. Let me understand this. At 15, the twin boy didn't want to go to his sister's 15th bash. You put him into position to dance with her, which to my knowledge is a father-daughter dance. Did you acknowledge that it was his birthday too? Now it's 2 years later and you're still pissed at him for something that happened 2 years ago. He got the grades, he was accused of cheating on a course he had no previous interest in, yet you haven't interacted with him for 2 years. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. Unless you have evidence, you have no right to accuse your son of cheating or allowing others to. He's clearly hurt, and rightfully so. He seems to feel left out of your family by your own actions. Where was his huge celebration for turning 15? And if your response is that he doesn't deserve one because he's a boy, then you've proven him right. Your family needs help mending itself, and simply telling him to act happy isn't going to be effective. He seems to be correct that you've got a shitty family. It's up to you to change that, if it's important to you.